Welcome, my name is Brandon Escobar, and this is Art of Wrestling Masterclass. This is an educational system to shine light on your wrestling, whether you've never wrestled before or you're on the fence of going back into it. This should help you to regain confidence and be able to grow in wrestling and in your self-confidence. Cool, so I am super excited to be where it all started for me at the Rocky Point Wrestling Academy in Rocky Point High School. And this is a very nostalgic place for me. So I just want to give a huge shout out to my coaches and everyone who have been there and guided me along this path to get to the point where I'm today. From a young boy to becoming a man, you know, it takes a village. So I'm very proud of my village, and I'm super excited to be here to show you guys what's about to happen. So I am a 2012 Olympic wrestler. I qualified for Team Honduras. I'm the first and only freestyle wrestling Olympian, and I've wrestled for 20 years, so I've had a lot of time. I put a lot of thought into the educational side of wrestling and have been applying and growing my knowledge for the 20 years that I've been doing this. So I'm super excited to be able to wrap this up for everybody and make it as fun and as simple as it can be so that you can have a better transition into your wrestling growth. And whatever your dreams are, whatever your goals are, hopefully you shoot for higher, shoot for the stars, and be able to make something through wrestling incredible in your life. This will help you not only to be a better wrestler, but to be an overall great human being. So I believe that wrestling is one of the greatest things that we can possibly use to be able to understand discipline, grow in so many fields, and be a well-rounded person. So super excited to start with the big three, which is what I call, I believe, encompasses a successful wrestler. So the first one is a physical one. So you have to become an immovable, a flexible, and an unstoppable force. So you have to be strong. You have to be able to have good balance, push, pulls, understand how to keep your feet under you in all situations, and to be in great balance and have strength and power so that you can successfully be able to do what it is that you have to do. The second one I call RAM. So it's repetition and muscle memory. This is to emphasize the fact that we need to get these reps in. We have to get constant time either on the mat or whatever it is that we're doing. In our discipline, this is where we have to place tremendous amounts of focus. You got to spend time, and you got to be able to do these things to a point where you don't have to think about it anymore. It just happens, right? You must move like a champion. And in the beginning, it could be rough, but eventually it'll become smooth. It'll become yours. These are your moves. This is for you to understand how you should be moving. There is a version of you that is the champion, the highest level, but you must learn how to move in that way. And you get that through repetition and constant work. And the third principle. The third one is championship mindset and lifestyle. So you must have this well-roundedness in everything, of course, but you have to have this mindset of what a champion thinks about, what a champion would say, what a champion would do, how he would live, how all these things will come together. If you put all these three things together, you're going to be able to create something for yourself that only few have ever been able to experience. So this is my challenge to you. I hope you guys take this into account and put your time in and do it with intention and look to shoot for the stars. All right? You should always be able to believe in yourself, and if not, through repetition, you will. Through practice, you'll be able to do everything. Cool? So, thank you. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass. My name is Brandon Escobar, and this is going to be off the first principle of becoming an immovable, flexible, and unstoppable force, our stance in motion. So it's very important to be able to not be moved, be flexible, and move anything that is ever in front of us. And this is something that we have to be able to do with that mentality in mind. right? So our stance is something that's really important because it puts us in great position to be able to keep someone away from a dangerous scenario, a dangerous position where they can start looking to push us to get points or pushing us to our backs, right? So establishing the rules in wrestling, you want to avoid going to your back at all costs. That's where you get pinned, and that's where we give up points. So we avoid that as much as possible. And we are trying to score points and look to pin our opponent. So a lot of this is going to be forward pressure, moving. So we have to be unstoppable and unwavering in that way. Cool? And flexible in the scenarios of chain wrestling, making sequences happen. It's very important to make those sequences happen very strong, right? So in the flexibility, you will be strong because you're going to be doing whatever it is that you can do at home, whether it be push-ups, pull-ups, rows, running. You got to do whatever it takes to be able to build yourself up to this person that can do these things effortlessly, right? So that, I would say, do anything that will give you an understanding for how you should be moving, how to keep your feet under you, how to build up balance, and how to build up strength with your feet underneath you. So anything that's going to teach you how to be thinking and moving with, you know, your feet underneath. So like anything with feet together, moving, shuffling your feet, you know, getting some of that strength and conditioning movement, that would be awesome. Other than that, let's get into the stance and motion. Now, after you've done your footwork and you start developing a good sense of balance, what you're going to want to do is build yourself a strong wrestling stance. All right. So in your stance, what you'll want to do is, just for the sake of this being a beginner example, a staggered stance where one foot is in front of the other, not too wide, shoulder width apart, and your goal should be to constantly keep your sights on your opponent. Cool? Wherever their spine is, that's what we call the center line. All right, so you should always be constantly looking for your opponent's spine wherever it is that you're going. All right, whether you're moving around, whatever you do, always keep that as your line of sight. Now, with our stance and motion, we're going to need some level changing. All right, so while I'm in my stance, I constantly want to be on my toes. I never want to be on my heels. All right, so while I'm doing this in my staggered stance, I want to make sure that I get into a good low stance, good position. And the way that I like to do that is with my rule of thumb being making a fist and imagining that this is a ball. All right, I'm gonna place it at the crook of my hip where like my short line would be, and I'm just gonna place it there. And what I will do is lower my level until I feel the pressure between my thigh and my lower abdomen. Cool. If there's a pressure there, I know I'm doing the right thing. I know that I'm lowering my level. My head's not too far forward. I should always be keeping my eyes on my opponent. And it should help with dropping your butt and being able to keep a good stance. So your ideal stance should be good, strong back and a place where you can push and place weight and pressure forward while maintaining good balance underneath your feet. So the ball, pressuring. Cool, this is my level change. If I want to level change more, I should feel more pressure in my hand. And that's where I go. My chest to thigh connection. Cool? So as you look to attack, you look to take those shots, what you're gonna wanna do is create more pressure and then go forward. All right? So with our stance, we can then shuffle, which is gonna be just moving either circling to the right or circling to the left, right, left. And if you notice, I lose that staggered stance for a moment when I'm shuffling my feet. And you're gonna have more of a square stance, but you can still maintain the pressure of your level change, and you'll notice it by the feeling in your hands. So even if you're in the stance and you're looking to shuffle, try to maintain that pressure on your hands so that you know that you're loading up and you're getting ready to either take a step forward or look to put that pressure on your opponent. Cool? So in your stance, making that fist, shuffling your feet. Now we're looking for our drop step. And our drop step will go as followed: heel, toe, knee, hip, and step, right? So heel, toe, dropping my knee. I should be bringing my hip up. I don't want to stay down too low. I'll be here for a second. I want my hip up and I want to start stepping. Now from here, you will choose to either run your feet or stand up if you're trying to lift somebody, or you're just running your feet to drive them a certain way. Cool? Eventually, you're gonna get better with your penetration step, which is just taking a step forward to close up the gap so that then you can go heel, toe, knee in. So, good stance, shuffling our feet, level changing while we do it, drop step, heel, toe, knee. Next thing is down block. We're always gonna down block our lead leg first. And a down block is just a matter of getting this leg away so that if this person decides to take a quick shot, very low shot, we're just clearing that leg out of the way. And some people will bring that foot back, some people will kick their butt. It's gonna be on you. Try either, try both. Be capable of doing both of these. Cool, so as you're moving, you're down blocking. You can post. I like to post, use my frame. You can use your forearm as a frame. And again, when you're doing this, anytime you're sprawling, down blocking, putting your hands on your opponent, there should be an emphasis on controlling the head, controlling the shoulders, controlling their forward motion. You're gonna attack their hands. We'll go into that later with our 3 points of contact, which are hands at hips. But your goal should be afterwards to be able to down block. So understand the pressure, down block, down block. Lead leg, rear leg. So down block, down block, down block, down block. Just in case. Always front leg, then lead leg. They're always gonna shoot to the front leg. It's just the closest one. And it's, in wrestling, distance is time. So the closer it is, the less time it's gonna take you to get to that leg. So just keep that in mind. Cool. So afterwards, after we've shuffled, drop step, we've down blocked, we're gonna look for our sprawl, and we're gonna use our level change, hands to the mat to get our feet back. We're gonna shuffle our feet to the side till we can come back into our stance, the same low, good stance. Cool? And that sprawl, normally, it'll be an opponent. It'll go to their shoulders, one hand to the head, one hand to the shoulder, pushing them back. When you're by yourself, you can go straight to the mat. But level change first in order to be able to place pressure back on this person. You want to keep them from driving you to your heels. Keep constant pressure forward. Cool? So after your sprawl, you're circling your feet up. Let's do a reshot. A reshot is a drop step that you are going to perform after your sprawl. Heel, toe, knee again. And if you notice, I can even look to throw my hands up like I'm reaching for something, which it should be the leg eventually. If you do a sprawl well enough, you come up, you can take their legs away and start your leg attack. And then after that, we're looking for our feints, all right? And our feints are just a matter of threatening the opponent. You're taking a shot that you're not gonna finish on, all right? But start getting used to moving in such a good feint where it looks realistic. It looks like you can take that shot, because eventually you will. And then the last thing is head movement, all right? Remember the line, the center line, it's their spine. Same thing for you. Your job is to get your head offline if ever they try to attack your head, right? So if a collar tie comes in, you move your head out of the way, out of the center line, but you constantly keep your sights on their center line. That way you can follow where it is that they may be trying to take you. If they level change, you're gonna level change and match their level, and then from then on, you keep the constant fight going. Cool, so this is something that we have to master. You could be a beginner, you could be a veteran. Everybody trains this all the time. This is something that you have to do it all the time. You have to get the reps in. This is like sharpening your tools. Cool, so just keep that in mind and look to get a flow from your stance to your shuffling, to your drop step, to your down blocks, to your sprawls, circling up, to your reshot, cool, to your feints, to your head movement. These are things that you're gonna want to start building up for yourself, cool? Always keeping our elbows in tight and being able to place our hands forward. Anytime you place your hands on your opponent, they should feel it. Heavy hands, and one of the rules of thumbs that I'll do is when I'm in my stance, I imagine that I'm constantly putting a ball underwater, all right? So if anyone's ever been in a pool and you know what it's like to pull a ball underwater, when you let it go, it shoots up. That's what you're gonna do with some of your opponents, right? When you're hanging on the head and you're pressuring them down, they wanna come up. And when they look to lift their head up, that's when we're gonna look to attack, cool? So let's rep those out. Let's make this flawless and effortless, and yeah, we'll go from there. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass, and this is the 3 points of contact. So after you've gotten down your stance and motion and you're getting stronger and feeling good in this, you're going to want to work on what you do during your engagement. All right, so there's 3 points of contact that we're going to look at, and this is Coach Jackie Gold from Rocky Point, who's going to be able to help me out during this, and he's going to help me show you guys how we use these 3 points of contact, how to place focus on them to be able to use our offense and use our defense. So remember, in offense, we're trying to close up the gap, create no space, and be able to drive this person to their backs, keeping constant pressure on them and wearing them out, looking to get them tired, getting them to a point where things will get much easier as they get tired, right? So with that, as I have Coach over here, what we're gonna do is, in the engagement, one of two things are gonna happen. Your hands are gonna meet or your head's gonna meet, right? You should have your frames in front of you, and it's either gonna be your heads meet, or maybe my hand to his head, or we're both gonna be looking to engage and we start our hand fight. Cool? And the goal is, if I'm on offense, I wanna get to his hips. If he's on offense, he wants to get to my hips. I wanna make sure that my hips are always safe. So, ways that we're looking to do this, if you wanna see a little visual of it, is hands to the head, looking to get into the hips. If you notice, I use my hands to be able to control where he is, right? To be able to place some weight on him, to be able to push. I'll use my head in a good position to be able to guard him if anything he decides for anything to happen. He's gonna look to take a shot, he's gonna look to level change, and then I will look to use my drop step in order to get into my leg attack. Cool, so this is what a successful leg attack would look like with your 3 points of contact. So that's offensively what you wanna do. Cool, we'll go over in another segment our hand controls and everything, but this is just to explain to you what is very important in this. So now defensively, what you're gonna look for is, worst case scenario, Coach Jackie gets in on a leg attack, right? Look at this, there's no space between him and my hips. So this is a troubling situation, because if you've been here before, you know where this is going, right? So my job is to be able to use my hips, since it's worst case scenario, to bring it back to my hands and to my head position. All right, so when they're at your hips, we do what's called a hip bump to be able to create some space. So on my hip bump, whatever hip is back, I like to bring that forward, and on this side, it's perfectly my left side, so it's gonna go right into my whizzer. So if we turn this way real quick, Coach, what I'm gonna look to do is hip bump to create the space. I'm gonna look to get my whizzer in, which I'm bringing this arm in between us as I look to circle. Remember, whether in offense or defense, circling and shuffling your feet is one of the most important things that you will ever do. You're either gonna use it to create space, or you're gonna use it to take away space. For this, I will create space by circling out and keeping forward pressure on Coach. If you notice, the posture will then start to break. I can then bring my hands in, lower my level, and now we're back into a more neutral stance. Cool, so these are something that we must place focus and emphasis on, and it's just something for you to be able to keep in your back pocket, to remember and remind yourself, hands, head, hips, and if they get to your hips, it's okay, it's not over yet. You can always be able to wrestle out of every scenario and situation, or you should be able to. You should always fight. There should always be on your mind that there is a route to get to where it is that you want to be, scoring your points, getting your pin, whatever it is. And these are our 3 points of contact. Thank you. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass, and this is the 6 points of pressure. Coach Jackie will help me out with this. So we're looking at push, pull, left, right, up, down. All right, just like a video game, like an analog stick, when I place my hands on my partner or my opponent, I'm looking to understand that there are 6 ways to move this person. I can push them, move them to the left, move them to the right. I can pull them, move them to the left, move them to the right. I can lift their body, or I can pull them down. All right? These are our 6 points of pressure that we have to apply with our stance and motion. The shuffling of the feet, the level changing, eventually the collar ties and the grips that we will talk about as well. It's very important to be able to understand that we can do these things, all right? As you're growing and developing in your wrestling, this is one of those things that it's just something that you should understand, that don't place so much focus and emphasis on one thing. Throw off the rhythm. Your goal should not be to be readable. Your goal should be to be sporadic at times and keep them on their toes and pushing them and moving them, getting them off balance, and creating a very sporadic hand fight and sporadic fight with this person. All right, make it tough for your opponent and your partner to be able to even hold on to you. All right, make them work. So it looks a little something like with my pushing and my pulling, I'm shuffling, I'm circling, I'm shuffling, I'm moving their body around, level changing. When you level change, you're threatening this person, right? Because at that point, you can start looking to attack the legs, you can move them around, and all the while you're doing this, you're getting this person tired. They have to be able to maintain a strong position. Coach is doing a great job of maintaining that position at all times. That will eventually wear on you. So what you want to do is be the person that's constantly applying that pressure. All right, so when you're pushing, push with pressure. When you're pulling, pull with pressure. For the most part, it'll be a lot of downward pressure until you're looking to either throw the person or make them exaggerate on a lift. So if you're hanging on the head very, very heavily and you feel like they're pressuring back, boom, you can let them go up. You can even help them up and then look to attack the legs and or the body. So it's very important to understand that when you do everything, it should be with a lot of pressure, with intention, with movement, circling either towards them to close up the gap or to create the space. So with that, I would say you can do this by yourself as well. You can do this with weights. You can do this with bands. But if you can get your hands on someone and be able to move them around and get the real flow of things, it'll help out tremendously. So get as much time as you can on the mats and get all the movement that you possibly can. Combine your stance and motion with all these things. As we progress, all these things come together. So your goal is to rep this out as much as possible. Cool? Awesome. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass, and this is grips and frames. So while we're combining everything and we're looking to move like a wrestler, there's something that's very important that we have to place emphasis on. Our grips are so key. So make sure that you're working on them. I know you're working to get strong. This is so important because what we're gonna do next is going to dictate where this fight goes. All right, the more control that you have over this person, the better you're off. You're constantly trying to put them in danger, and this is how we will use our grips to get good grips and frames, right? So Coach Jackie here is in front of me, and I am looking to then engage, all right? I can post my hand, but I actually want to start hand fighting. I want to start looking to get past the frames, past his hands, because these are a danger. These can stop me from moving in. He can use them to either down block, or he can just push me away with them if they're out there. So how do we engage with these? We can look at hand control, where we're looking for at least 4 fingers. This is at the very least collegiate acceptable, right? So if you are in jiu-jitsu as well, I believe that this is good enough. So we have our hand control, where we're looking to either open this person up or be able to look to get his hands out of the way however I can. I can either like throw them out of the way and look to attack, or I can just look to be heavy on them, snap, get a reaction out of them. Cool? So this is something that you can start using in order to kind of guide where his hands are going. Because wherever the head goes, the body follows. The hands are the head of the arms. So just keep that in mind. Cool? Next one, wrist control. While I'm doing all of these, my job should constantly be to pull this person, to push this person, to make them have to work, to just be in a good position. We will use these grips to make it uncomfortable for them to be in front of us. Cool? So let's say they start attacking. We start controlling the elbows in these situations here as well. All right, you can have the outside controls of the elbows, pinching them in, pulling them out, depending on what it is that you know. And when you find something that you like, especially Fanatic Wrestling, Dynamic Striking, like BJJ Fanatics, all of them have so many instructionals that you're going to be able to use Now, by knowing these things, the pinching of the elbows, the opening up, and then you can start taking your attacks. We get past the frames by being able to control the frames, control what's in front of us, and be able to just find our way to the best position possible. Cool? So now, inside biceps, if this person's trying to gain some sort of control, I can start pushing their arms away with the inside bicep control, keeping this head-to-head position. All right, let's say they get now I'm in inside control. I want to make sure that I use this well. I have a collar tie as well. All right, we have tricep control on the back. So these you can use more in like pulling motions, but you can still push. I feel like the bicep, tricep control, these kind of combined. All right, so your job should be to understand how to use this, being able to push and pull with these. All right, push, pull, left, right. Understand how to move this person in front of you with these grips while keeping this forehead to forehead position. Cool? So a lot of it's gonna come down to you having a strong back, strong lats, and a strong neck. Cool? So build your bodies up for this. Our collar tie will be used like a frame. All right? I'm looking to pull his head down, constantly keeping pressure. If you do it on the neck, most of the wrestlers will be pretty strong, and some people are generally strong. So if you place a lot of the weight on the neck, they can hold that. But if you place it on the back of the head, that's going to be tremendous amounts of pressure that this person has to constantly be fighting. So look to place focus and emphasis on that. And let's say they get a collar tie. There's a way to be able to create space with this collar tie by creating a frame with an over tie. And all I'm doing is I'm going over the top of the arm, wrapping the arm. My ear is going to my shoulder to keep the hand trapped. And then the back of my hand is going to be placed to the inside of their, I guess, deltoid, inside deltoid area, to the chest area. And I can use this to keep this person away. I can actually keep a lot of pressure and keep this person at bay with something like this. On the other side, I can have a collar tie and I can have a pull, push, force going on at the same time. Cool? So this is something that I would say you guys will have to test and see what works best for you. But try to find the best position at all times where you can be constantly in a good stance, level changing position where you're constantly on the inside control, constantly getting frames out of the way, and then being able to use your level change into your drop set for your shots. Cool? That's where this will all start to develop a little bit better for you. Cool, so place emphasis on your grips, your strength, and these movements, and it's gonna work out to the best of your favor. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass, and in this portion we'll be going over the grip breakers. So when our partner decides they get a good grip or they happen to get a good grip, we got to be able to get out of those positions and find ourselves in a more favorable position where then we can level change easier, we can drop set, we can get in, closing up the gap and continuing our offense. So in this situation, Coach Jackie's going to have a collar tie and inside control. Now my job should be, I am looking to gain inside control at all times as a wrestler. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes you might have your hands outside. Cool, you're fighting inside, whatever the case may be, there's still frames in the way. So what I'm gonna look to say is, you're going to make like a V with your hands, like Lego hands, and you're going to look to see where their elbow's at, and just above that, going towards the armpit, is where you're going to want to place your hands to lift the arms. If you go too high, they can just drop their elbow down, and now this is a frame that you're gonna have to push into. And we don't wanna do that. We wanna be able to clear those hands, clear those arms by pushing underneath and above the elbows. Cool, so this is a pop. We're going to pop their arms up. Do this with intensity, do this with as much power as you possibly can. All right, this is something that you wanna build up so that you can get them exaggerated. Cool, when I pop those hands up, I'm level changing, looking to bring my chest to my thighs close as I can, and I'm doing like a what is that, like a weightlifter, like a snatch clean type thing, and I'm lifting those arms up as I look to level change, bringing my elbows in for my shot, and that would be my shot attempt off of my pop. Cool. Coach again gets his inside control. I can't fight my inside. I will look for constantly circling. Whenever you're on a defensive measure, I would say circle your feet, keep the motion going. All right, so as I'm shuffling away from my lead foot, what I'm looking to do is drop my hands onto his forearms. I'm gonna be able to guide my hands. You can even use your thumbs from the forearm down to the wrist with a snapping motion. What you wanna do is get their hands to the mat. So that's your goal, to do that as hard as you can, to get their hands to the mat, to get a reaction out of them. So it should look a little something like this. And then they would come up. That would be when you look to enter in with your drop step. Cool? Eventually you'll get good at it and gauge your distance. If you're too far away, you may have to take more of a penetration step, right? So we know our drop step, but our penetration step will be something that you'll have to work on as well. And it's just a matter of extending our foot out a little bit further, doing our same heel toe knee to close up the gap with our partner. Cool? So another thing we can do from this situation, Coach Jackie's on the inside. I am looking to fight the inside control as well. And if I can get to it, what I want to do to get his pressure off of me is create motion. So circling away from the lead leg is awesome, but I want to get his head offline and I want to create some sort of obstruction for him. All right, so that'll be with my collar tie and my inside tie. As I look to shuffle, I can look to move his head around. All right, I can look to guide his head with a push-pull motion. And with my collar tie, you can look to use that pulling motion. Remember, we're pulling at the back of the head. And with your other hand, you can even look to pull at the arm, push at the arm, create some sort of motion where this person is feeling like they're top heavy. Cool? So at all times, you can be able to push the head over, pull the arm, pull the head, push the arm. You'll have to play around with this a little bit and get the feel for it, but your job essentially is get the head offline and pull the arm from under them. All right, so with that mentality, should help you out a little bit more. Cool, and then our last ones will be, what if they get your hands, what if they get your wrists? All right, with these, we're gonna look to turn our hands out and be able to grab. There's a lot of things where you can go into depth with these, where, you know, there's so many different grip breakers that you can do, but these, you have to like look to go into studying some details on these, because it's very important to be able to understand how and where to be able to turn your hand. All right, it's always gonna be to the opening of the hand. Whenever you turn your hands, let's say coach grabs my wrists, all right, you gotta understand that the weakest point is where the fingertips meet, right? So your hands can go out, your hands can also go in, and you can start doing things like arm drags, like 2-on-1 Russians, right? Being able to break the grips this way. It's something that you'll have to practice in the sense, cool? And even when you have it, you've got wrist control, downward pressure, outside as well. You can look to bring the arms for arm drags outside, just to get a reaction out of the person, right? Sometimes we just want to control this person in front of us. We never want to let them control us. All right, this is something I must avoid at all times, especially if there's weight on this. There, I feel that. I want to get those hands off and be able to break those grips. Cool? So these are the things that you're going to have to start looking to do, because this is what your opponent's going to do to you. All right? Looking to break out, gaining an angle. Remember, circling motion at all times. Whether offense, whether defense, it's always just going to help you out. All right? If you can keep a constant motion going, you're going to be always transitioning to a next movement. So if you're already moving, all you got to do is think about the situation and you'll end up in that better situation. Cool? Let's rep that out. Awesome. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass, and this is controlling the single leg. So after I've gotten my sense of motion, my hands in place, my grips, my pressures, my understanding of what I need to do to start entering to get to this person's legs and start scoring points and looking for my pin, what I'm looking to do is look for my single legs. Cool? So one rule that I was told when I was younger was a single leg is easy to get, but it's hard to finish. A double leg is hard to get, but it's easy to finish, right? Because when you can bring two legs in together, it stops this like tripod stance that they have, right? So your goal should always be, when you're even getting a single leg, trying to finish with double or bundling up the legs. Cool? So I'm gonna look to do a sweep single, and I'm moving my partner, getting them to step, and I'm looking to get into a position where I get my heel, or my knee behind his heel if I can. I want to have a good deep grip of this thigh. Usually it's like under the short line is usually where you want to be. Enough to bring the thigh to your chest so you can keep a good pressured feel of it. I like my head looking still for the spine, driving through the body. Remember, you should always keep your eyes on where this person's spine would be. This way you have constant forward motion, forward drive with your head. Cool? And from here you have your grips. Cool? And what you'll want to do is whatever outside hand, it's always going to be covered with the backhand. All right? So if they try to break your grips, it's actually tightening up the grip. If the grip was the other way, it would be much easier to break the lock. Cool? So always hide that front hand behind the backhand. Cool? So in this position, guys, once I get to my single leg, one of the most important things that I want to do is be able to understand, I want to keep this person off balance however I can. All right? And a good way to do it is to control the hips. Remember our 3 points of contact: hands, head, hips. I got past the hands, I got past the head, I'm at the hips. So I'm going to need to be able to control this. And the best way is by getting this thigh glued to me. Now I have like his hip in my ear. I can literally listen to what he's about to do. Cool? And with a good grip, my job should be here to either drive through with my head and start looking to get him off balance, or looking to collect these legs like we said before. Remember, one leg is easy to get. Now it's time to get 2 legs to make that takedown easier, right? So there are things that we can do, like level changing, looking to be able to grab the other leg to pull them in together, right? The knees are much easier to kind of manipulate. All the joints are usually easier to manipulate, so if you ever attack, usually by the knees is a good place, all right? Being able to change the angle, get behind this person, being able to push into this person to stand up so I can either transition to be able to control them by the ankle or still by the leg. Cool? Either at the knee, higher at the thigh. You're kind of going to be the judge of that, but ideally what I want to do is keep them off balance by keeping the good side of their spine, having a good tight lock on the leg, and being able to look for a bundling of the legs, so collecting the legs. So something you can do is after you single leg, you can even go back and look to collect it on the way. Cool? So your job should be to create a motion while keeping a good position and strong stance and finding a way to bundle those legs. All right? Once you've gotten something like that, where you can get those legs together, it's much easier to drive this person over. And usually what you'll want to do is drive them on the sides. Cool? And once you've gotten the legs, it's much easier then to be able to take this person's back and score your points. Cool? So Coach Jackie's very strong this way, forwards and backwards. All right? But once we get him to a place where he has to defend from the side, look how the knees start to come in. It's very dangerous for some people as well. This is something eventually you build up and you get more flexible with, so this is why we must be flexible. This is a position where when I look to bring these legs in together, I should still keep that drive through his hips. All right? I don't want to give him the advantage of being able to use his hands by driving him forward, which you can, absolutely. Or you can take him backwards, but I like to be able to constantly keep a pressure on the side of the legs to the point where I can drive them to the mat from there. Controlling the legs, working my way up like you're reeling in, like you're reeling them in, right? So with our head inside, just know that use your hands, use your head, use your hips to either come in, to give you that boost that you'll need to be able to collect the legs. Cool? And the same thing when the head is to the outside. When I'm in a situation where my head is to the outside, here, let me do it on the side actually. When the head is to the outside, same thing. I'm keeping a good posture position, but this time I'm actually keeping my head a little bit higher, and I like to start giving pressure to the person's back so they start kind of bending. All right, this is a good position where now I can look to switch and keep control of their legs so that their hips are under my control. And at this point, I can either look to lift and pick this person up, or I can drive my feet with the same intention. Wherever the head goes, the body follows. I want to see where it is I'm driving. I'm looking across their back and I'm running my feet as I'm looking to collect these legs. Always bundling the legs as you're driving, and your head should be looking to the direction that you want to go. Cool? So these are just little pinpoints that you should have in order to be able to have like rule of thumbs in these situations. Cool? Maintain these proper positions and be strong in these positions so that you can give yourself time to be able to move to the next position. All right? Because if you're worried about this person breaking you down and starting to crumble your posture, you have something else on your hands. This is another obstacle that now you must be able to address before you can even go into your offense. So build yourself up strong, learn these positions, get into these positions, hold these positions when you're at practice, hold these and train these positions where you're constantly moving with the head, you're holding that position, you're understanding what it takes to be there. And then once that becomes second nature and it becomes easier, you can transition at will. Cool? So get those reps and make sure you master this. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass, and this is defending the single leg. So once my partner has used their hands, their grips, their positioning, their movement, their stance, and they get into my leg, we need to know what to do from the situation. All right? So Coach Jackie got in on a high crotch here, and he's in a great position. All right? Look, his chest is close to my thigh. There's no space. I have to create some space in order to be able to turn this to my favor. All right? I got to be able to get my legs back as well. He's got great grips on my thigh and even wrapping down to my leg. This will make it a little bit more difficult to be able to get your leg back, but you can still do it. All right? You got to keep in mind what it is that you're looking to do. All right? And I have to use my hands. All right? Hands, head, hips. But since he's already at my hips, I need to address that situation first to create space. There is no space here. This is worst case scenario. Whenever someone comes in like this or you meet them, you should be meeting them with your hips. And if they're already there, you're going to use your hips to create space. Cool? So one thing I'm going to look to do is I'm going to bump this person. I can either bump with the hip that's already there, or I can look to even turn and use my other side to create space. It's going to be a different angle. You're going to have to be the judge of that. But for the most part, what I like to do is I like to feel where the pressure is, and I push into that. Cool? And I load up and I push my hips into this person to be able to redirect where it is that they're going. Cool? So for the sake of just this situation, we're going to look to hip bump. Our hand is going to go to the back of the head, and our other hand is going to go for a wizard. So we're going to look to be able to balance ourselves with our two hands. Balancing ourselves by pushing down on the head, and then being able to drive our arm almost like elbow deep, like forearm type, right into the back of the armpit to be able to keep that forward drive going, but now we're going to spiral it into the mat. Cool? All while I'm trying to get my legs behind me, I'm going to circle, and I'm going to be able to create space by creating this motion and circling. All right, so it should look a little something like hip bump, hands going, and I am looking to get my legs back, and I'm circling, and I'm looking to get my hips down, my legs back. If you keep active toes, it could be dangerous. They could run you over if they're really strong. I would say go laces to the mat so that if they do decide to push, they just kind of push you forward. It's quite all right. They could tire themselves out in that situation, right? So if you're still on the leg here, what I'm looking to do is still be able to address what's going on, right? So hands, head, hips. At this point, you can start looking to attack the hands whilst keeping pressure, while circling, while being able to keep that heavy hip pressure. If you do these correctly, you're going to create obstacles and pressures for this person. It's going to make it hard for them to be in a good position. So these are things that you're going to have to look into and start developing a skill and recognizing some of these things. And it just comes through the reps and the times doing it. When you're looking to create the space, worst case scenario, again, keep in mind, it's your hips. Creating the space, I can look to push the head to the inside as well, all right, just to kind of throw off their rhythm, because he may already have a game plan for where he wants me to go after this situation. I could change this up on him with a hip bump, pushing the head to the inside, and now we're going to do the same exact thing. I need to get my legs under behind me. I need to put pressure on the head to redirect where it is that he's going, and I need to keep myself balanced, so I'm going to use a whizzer again. So it's always going to be the near side. Whatever side he's attacking with, whatever armpit I see, that's the hand that's going to go. So same side hand. So as I bump the head to the inside, I'm looking to place my hand to the back of the head. I'm looking to get my hips into him, my legs back. I'm whizzering and I'm keeping constant pressure. Cool? And at this point, I'm just looking to make sure that his head stays underneath my hips where it's a lot of pressure. All right? At this point, I can have my laces down, whatever I got to do in order to make it very pressureful for this person, very difficult for them to hold on to this grip. Cool? At this point, we can push away at the hips. We can look for our tight waist. I need to make it very difficult for this person to be able to stay in this position. You can attack the arms by pulling up the elbows. That usually helps pretty good. It's very hard to hold on to somebody and then they turn your elbow out with your hands out like that. But the goal here, create space. But get to a safe place first. Make sure that you break their lock, and now you should be looking to circle to take the back. So we'll go over a spin drill later to be able to make that second nature. All these things that you're learning right now have to be second nature. It's got to get to a point where you don't even have to think about it, or you just think about it and your body does it. But the goal is to get to a point where you don't have to think about the thing that you have to do. You're just doing it. You know what will work. You know what you have to do. And at that point, it's going to be much easier for you to recognize patterns and understand certain things. Then you'll be able to have an advantage in thinking faster than the other person. All right? Because if you don't have to think that deep into it, you're going to have more processing power in your mind to be able to go anywhere else with it, you know, and keep that transition going and keeping the chain wrestling going. Cool? So remember, offense, no space. Defense or counter offense, create as much space as you can, and I would say till they break their lock. Don't get too far where then you have to reset to get together and get close. Just like when you're fighting, you know, if we're in a situation where we're boxing, my job is to be in a place where if Jackie looks to throw a punch, I'm just far away where it's missing me. I don't want to be too far and then have to close all this gap in order to be able to hit my partner. Same thing in wrestling. All right, you want to be just outside the zone where they can hit you so that when you re-attack, you're much closer in. Don't go jumping back so far, and don't be circling back. You should always be circling to your sides and always moving forward. Cool? Let's get these reps. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass. This is controlling and defending the double leg. So, Coach Jackie here is in a good stance. I have used my frames, I use my movement to get him off balance, to get him reacting, and then I get into my double leg with a good penetration set. My goal in this situation is to be able to get my chest as close as I can to his thigh and be able to get my locks, tight elbows, elbows in, and bringing these legs together as much as possible while I'm in this position. All right? My trail leg, depending on what I decide to do, will either come up for a lift where I can pick them up, or I will look to step to the outside or to the side, I would say, and look to run my feet and keep in the direction where my eyes are set. So in this situation, I would want to be looking across his back on a 45-degree angle to the opposite area. So as I'm locking my hands, chest pressure forward, keeping a good arch in the back. This is a position that we must get good at. So for 1 second, let me, you have to be able, after you take that drop step, to be able to get to this position and hold as much weight as possible. This is where we must be immovable. All right? You can't be getting crumpled over. This is a situation where, again, just like any other situation, if you're worried about the defense, you're not going to be moving to the offense, to the next thing. If there are obstacles that you have, this is the way that you build up on that, all right? You have to be able to be strong in these situations. So you might have to do some weights, you might have to do some push-ups, some squats, some whatever it is to be able to have a body that can perform and do these moves. Cool? Because we never know. If Coach Jackie ends up being one of the strongest people on the planet and he places that weight on me, I got to be able to hold that weight. I got to be able to be strong enough to hold him till I can get these legs together and I can either drive my feet or look for my lift. Cool. And again, if you can push against the sides, it's going to be a little bit easier to be able to collect these legs. Cool. And your job at this point, again, scoring points, looking for your pin. I'm trying to drive this person to their back. Cool. And in a defensive measure, let's say Coach Jackie's in on a double leg. He's got his chest in, good strong back. He's got a good posture. He's holding my weight. What I would love to do in this situation is start to create a motion. Again, creating space. All right. I can look to start squaring up with him and start hitting in this this whizzer, which is whatever side I see his armpit, that arm is going to go to that side. The other hand should go to the head. Usually it works out that way. And my job is to look to bring his head underneath my belly, my center, my hips. I would say more belly than anything, all right? And eventually to your chest so you can start creating the space and pushing him away. So it should look a little something like, look how tight he is. We're gonna go hip bump first. Hip bump, looking to turn in, start putting the pressure down on the head. So we'll turn this way real quick, putting the pressure in on the head. And my job is, since I know he's gonna keep a forward motion, he's gonna keep this drive going, is to keep the circle going, keep the circling happening. And the pressure on the head and the getting my legs and my hips back and down and eventually get to the point where I can get my hips to the mat. I got control of his head underneath. In this position, guys, it's very important to not allow this person to pop their head out from underneath my armpit at any time. This is very dangerous. Now he can start getting an angle and taking the back. And you've given up that position. The way you keep this position is after you've sprawled and you're keeping him here, your job should be to be able to control these arms, looking to continuously drop your hips till you have chest on his back. And you're keeping pressure on the back of the head. Once the lock breaks, you can look to spin. That's the perfect time to do it, all right? And we'll go over the hand positioning and the how we do our spin drill. But just keep in mind that in this position, if you can, the moment that you get your hips to the mat and you go, on your toes, all right? You're no longer on your knees. You have to be the fastest person at that point, all right? You gotta be spinning, you gotta be moving. Whenever you do any mat wrestling, your job should be to constantly be on your toes, moving as fast as you can. Try to spend as least amount of time as you can on your knees and on your heels, okay? There's only gonna be specific times where you can do that. Other than that, you should be the fastest person on the mat every time you move. And this is one of the ways to do it. Cool? So get these reps in, controlling, remember, getting your chest in, keeping that pressure on that separation, creating that space, creating that motion. Circling will always work. When you use that shuffle step in every scenario, it's gonna go in your favor if you know what you're doing. Cool? So let's get those reps in and awesome. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass. This is controlling and defending the front headlock and a spin drill to help us keep motion, keep our feet going, and making sure that we're constantly in a good position. Whenever you get to a front headlock, it's imperative that you keep the motion going, that you control and guide where this person is going. Remember, hands, head, hips, and if you get a chance to be able to control the head and the hands without them having anything on you, you're gonna have a huge advantage. So your goal will be to be moving this person around, controlling, making sure their head doesn't go in through your armpits. You always want to avoid that as much as possible in wrestling. All right, the moment they can start capturing your body, you're gonna have more obstacles in the way, and you want to avoid that as much as possible. You keep your elbows in, you keep control, push their head down, and be able to create pressure so that you can either take the back or start looking for an angle break where you can then start putting them to a pinning position. So with Coach Jackie here, we'll be looking for a hand fight first, of course. My job would be always constantly looking for the inside tie. All right, we're gonna use our snapping motion that we did earlier, which was from the forearm to the wrist snap, but I'm also gonna apply the collar tie this time. Cool? So from a collar tie, inside control, I'm gonna look to drop my hands from the forearm to the wrist with pressure towards the mat so that my partner gets his hands to the mat, and he's heavy, he's top heavy. Cool? So I want my opponent to be able to be top heavy, hands to the mat, and not seeing what I'm doing. So that's where the collar tie comes in. So as I look to keep this pressure at the hand, I'm going to look to push the head down and pull while I'm looking to shuffle my feet as well. Cool? So it should look a little something like this. So in this position, what you want to look for is first staying off your knees. I'm doing this right now just for the sake of the drill, but if you can constantly keep pressure on this person, you're going to be in way better position. Allow them to have to hold your weight. Give them as much weight as possible. That way they're slower. All right? And then I want to create a box where his head will never leave and his arm are going to share like close quarters. All right? I'm going to keep my elbows tight, and the hand that's on his ear side, the head side, is going to grab the chin. All right, because we're going to be able to control this. Remember, where the head goes, the body follows. And with this chin hand, we can start turning the head whichever way we want, which is going to throw off his strength. He won't be able to drive if we start turning the head outwards, right? So you want to be able to control this chin, staying on your toes, keeping that pressure into them. My other hand can look to start clearing this leg. If you notice, he's looking like a table, right? So if I can take away one of the legs of that table and be able to pull down on that side and keep heavy pressure on it, it's going to then create an obstacle for this person where they feel uncomfortable and they have to build back up to a good solid position, right? So they have to take an extra step just to get back into a position where they feel somewhat comfortable. That's where you should be attacking. Right at the point where now this person is in a danger position, right? In a more flattened out position. Whenever I am over my opponent, I want them flat. I want them to not be able to be able to re-attack, to be able to use their hands, to be able to lift their head, to be able to start driving. Their forward motion, I have to stop it. And then I have to be able to keep my constant offense. Cool? So staying on my toes, pulling the chin, controlling, pulling the hand, being able to pull down to get to a position where his head and his arm are bundled together, and I'm looking to possibly get a spin by shuffling my feet and looking to take the back. Now, when we look to shuffle, we will go over a spin drill soon. These two things go together. They go together hand in hand. When you're in a position of a front headlock, you should always be able to score. This is a great position to score from, because this person, you can see everything as a person holding the front headlock. This person on bottom has to be able to stay very reactant, position himself correctly so that he can see the hips, see the feet, where they're going, to be able to block off my hips, all right? And then, be able to stop me from taking their back, because that's a danger position for them, all right? We want to get to a position where we're behind the arms, behind them. This is where we're looking to score points inside the armpits, where we can be in a good position of either tight waist, start looking for wrappings of the hands, start pressuring down on the head. I love staying in inside control. And when you're behind the person, being able to control the hips. So whatever side you decide to be on, just remember, the goal is always getting behind, getting double underhooks, and keeping pressure on this person. Tight waist, insides looking to attack with chops, with spiral rides. We can go over that another time, but for the most part is what we're looking at in this position is how can we transition to the back as soon as possible? How can we pressure this person so they don't keep the offensive nature, right? Once you take the back, we can look to bundle the legs again, drive them down. Cool? These are things that must be practiced. This will come with time and repetition. Same exact thing like before, when we can pull the elbows in together on the legs, it'll make it much easier to be able to drive this person off to their side. Cool? So that was the offensive side of the front headlock. I would say use the chin as much as possible. Use the shuffling of the feet. When I'm in this position, I would love to just be able to run my feet and have this person try to follow me as I go. Maybe this way, but noticing I'm on my toes, I'm keeping this pressure, I'm driving with my shoulder into the back of this person's spine. My pressure should be where the spine meets the shoulders, and whatever side I'm on, all the weight is going to that shoulder. Cool? And a lot of my drive is going to be forcing the back of the neck to that area so that I can start creating a pressure that's going to be a little bit overwhelming for this person because they can't defend backwards. Cool? So as I'm doing that, pulling the chin, moving it around, boom, 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 dropping them down to the elbow and looking for our spin. We'll get to our spin drill. We're going to look at what we should do in that situation once we're defensively in that situation. Cool? So Jackie has my chin, he has my arm. My job is to be first controlling what's attacking me right now. So in this situation, I need to attack what's attacking me. The hand to the chin is huge. All right, this right here, I would want to be able to hold this stance, right? I gotta be strong in this position. Being able to push back into this person, being able to get my foot up. You never wanna let this person just crush you, all right? You wanna be able to create pressure back into this person, controlling the hand. The chin hand is always a great hand to attack. I would recommend that because wherever the head goes, the body follows, and that's where he's gonna wanna control you. So one hand to it, two hands to it, putting it to the mat, and now I'm just looking to shuffle my feet so I can either take his back or create space and get away. Cool, so it's that simple when it comes to the chin hand. It will be a fight, but at the very least you know what you gotta look for. And that's half the battle. If you know what you gotta look for, you'll be in a better position. Controlling the hand, peeling it off the chin, you can just pop it up, pull it down, get it to the mat. Once you get that hand down, once you've been able to peel that hand, or let's say he keeps a nice tight elbow in, he's making it more difficult where I can't, pulling on the elbow outwards. I like to drive my shoulder into their shoulder to get that arm out, and I can look to hit my sucker drag, right? I'm gonna hand that near side arm off to my cross hand. Now I'm gonna look to throw my arm across as I go hip to hip with this person and looking to where they're going. Cool? A little sucker drag action. These are the things that you'll be able to do if you understand how to control these positions. Cool, so always just maintain a good position and give yourself time to be able to hit these as, at will. You shouldn't even have to think about it. You should already just go into these positions and find the good position. Because the longer you have to think, the longer you're giving this other person time to do and execute their moves. Cool? So with these positions, we have to constantly keep our feet moving. We have to keep motion going. So this little spin drill is something that all wrestlers do, and if they don't, they should be doing it every single day. This is one of the greatest things that you could possibly do, teaching you how to constantly keep your feet moving in a shuffling, circling motion. Cool? So Coach Jackie's gonna be in a referee's position, and his job will be just to keep lifting his head and giving me an obstruction. All right, I want an obstacle to have to reach. You can start from the front in a front headlock, or sometimes they'll start behind with two hands in the back. We'll start with two hands to the back because I want you guys to see our hand positioning and our hand placement when we do this. So I start with my hands to the back. I got a timer going. Maybe it's for a minute, maybe it's for two. And my job is to be able to keep my feet moving and spinning one side, one direction, other direction, and keeping constant pressure and keeping the spin going, moving my feet. Cool? So my hands are gonna go from inside the armpit to my shuffle to whatever hand is closest to the head is gonna go to the back of the head, pushing down on that head. Continue my shuffle. I'm bringing my other hand, taking it out from inside the armpit, and now I'm going over the near side shoulder, over the neck, and blocking off the far side shoulder. Cool? My chest pressure should be enough to be able to push into my arm, to pressure their arms down, to be able to stop them from blocking me from getting off the side. All right, so if my hand doesn't go as far to the shoulder, Jackie can just bring up his arm, and now he's got my leg. All right, I have to be able to stop them from being able to, or we have to be able to stop them from being able to block off our hips. So this is how we do it. We're going to be able to bring our arm across, blocking off the shoulder, using your chest pressure into your arm to be able to push the arm down. So it's gonna look like this. hands inside, I'm up, chest pressure on the back, active toes, driving forward, hands in the back. I want to create pressure on coach's back. As I'm shuffling, I'm pushing down on the head, bringing my other hand to the near shoulder. I'm going to go over the shoulder. So over the shoulder, over the neck, and I'm going to block off the far side arm. So now when he goes to try to reach up, it's a little bit more difficult because of the pressure of my chest into my arm onto the shoulder. Cool? When you get to the back to the armpits. Now when you go to the other side, maybe coach blows a whistle, he says switch, go to the other position, go to the other side. You're going to shuffle, push the head down, bring the arm in. So this is where the hand comes in. Tight hand, in, across, far side, shuffling, shuffling, inside the armpits, other way, inside the armpits, and so on and so forth. And you should be doing those and getting reps of those. I would say every day, do at least 5 minutes of that, and you will catch up to everybody. You will have a tremendous advantage over so many people by constantly getting that motion down, constantly using your hands as you're using your feet as you're applying pressure. That's your goal for when you do these. Cool? Awesome. Let's get those reps in. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass. My name is Brandon Escobar, and Coach Amendola here is going to help me out with the explanation of top and bottom control. Cool? So we're going to start with top. Coach will be the bottom player. His job is to maintain a good, strong stance on bottom. My job on top as a top player will be to make it very difficult for him to maintain this position. All right? Because from here, it's much easier to build up. My job should be to pressure this person as much as possible, getting all the weight on their hands and looking to maintain inside hand control. All right, if I'm inside the armpits, I can start attacking wherever it is that I want. Once I go to the outside, it's going to be much harder to really get anything unless you look for cradles or things like that. These are some things that you guys can look into, or even purchase some other instructionals to be able to explain how you can use these to your favor. But for now, what we're looking to do is break this person down from this referee's position. So if you notice, we'll bring you to the side real quick, facing this way. Awesome. So if you notice, Coach has a great posture, great stance in here. All right. All his weight is back on his legs, and he's very light-handed. All right. From this position, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to break them down, but we can still do it. So our job should be, when we start in top position, constantly keeping pressure, maintaining inside control, never getting too high over the head. So my rule of thumb is, when I'm behind them, I used to like to keep my ear by this like back shoulder area. Cool, that way I know I'm not too high where he can reach up and grab the head. Yeah, you don't want that. You want to be low, and you want to be driving with your underhooks inside the armpit. Cool. From here, you have the choice of, you can start going tight waist and start wrapping around their body. You can start taking away legs of the table from the inside. You can start attacking the legs. You can start driving on angles. The goal eventually is how to make this person flatten out. All right. And we have to look at them like a table and understand that it's easier to break down a table when you start taking away the legs. But you're going to have to pressure that table as well in order to be able to give them that pressure required to start breaking down. Cool? So even if I take away an arm, I pull an arm in, I'm going to need to drive forward, keep that forward pressure to get them to a point where they're flat. Now he has to fight back up in order to then be able to do his next move. So if you can get someone flat in a top position, you're going to have the advantage, because now you can move to the next position. They have to defend whatever it is that you have first. Cool? So when we're on top, keeping good, tight pressure on top, driving forward on an angle. I like 45 degrees. I like going to where the shoulder is pointed, where the other shoulder is pointed. Those are my drives, and I'm just taking away legs of the table as I'm keeping that drive going with good pressure. And another thing, staying off my knees. So whenever I keep any pressure, I'm going to be running my feet into this person, going side to side, whatever it is, wherever it is that you're going, whether you're lefty or righty, but staying and maintaining on your toes as much as possible. Cool? So now on bottom, let's say Coach Amendola is on top. My job is to be able to maintain that weight. He's keeping a lot of pressure on me. My job, especially if the weight's going on my hands, I'm gonna need to push into my hands to push back some of that pressure. So I can now look to keep my elbows tight. My job should be to never let coach get his hands in like this. All right, I have to be able to control those hands and elbow fight my way in. I need to make sure that he can't control anything from the inside. If I'm in here, I'm good. This is a good upper body fight when you're down. All right, as I'm constantly keeping pressure back into him, I can make sure that his hands don't come in, and then I can start looking to get my legs out in front of me, under me, so that I can start pressuring back into him. And my job is to create space. Cool? So when you're on top, no space. You want constant pressure. On bottom, I need to create space so that I can escape and be able to face him. So from the side, if we're in here and he's already got his underhooks in, my job should be, how can I get out of this position? Pushing back into him, I need to be able to create space. All right, so again, on bottom, have your mindset to being able to fight the hands hand to hand and start bringing in those elbows. Cool? This way I can start taking these hands away, pressuring back into them, and then getting my hips away or starting my run. All right, so you can hip heist, you can run, or you can just take the arms away and probably just walk out of that position. Cool? So those are two things that we have to master as far as wrestling with top-bottom position. Now, a lot of times, and you know, for the sake of this is just the more basic example of it, basic understanding of it. In detail, there's so many other ways that you can turn someone and do these things, but keep in mind at all times that the pressure, it's always gonna be something that will go hand in hand with what you do. Cool? The inside control, it's fantastic. Running your feet, staying on your toes, that's another thing. So these are all things that you combine with any technique that you guys can go out and find and or search and look to get information from others. But for the most part, this is what you're gonna need as you're going to start developing your wrestling. Cool? So let's rep those out. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass. My name is Brandon Escobar, and Coach Amendola here is gonna help us out with fighting off our back. Cool? So this is a position that a lot of people get into, especially when you're starting off. And we have to understand that when we're on our back, we constantly have to keep using our feet and our hands. All right? We have to be able to bridge, we have to be able to create space. When you're on your back, the most important thing is going to be creating space, unless you can use a lock to turn this person over, and we'll get right into that right now. So let's say I happen to get into a headlock position where I'm on my back and coach has a good lock. Cool? I can do one of two things. All right, I can either bring my feet to the mat to start creating some space, pushing into him. All right, I need to create pressure back, so I don't just stay flat on my back. All right, so one of the things that I can do is my free hand back here is going to look to go across his body so that he will now bring his head down more towards his head. Cool? Giving me the ability to walk up behind him. If you notice, I'm going to be bringing my hips close to his. This should allow me to bring my leg over. So let's turn this one real quick. So as I look to put my toes to the mat and pressure into this person, notice I throw my hand across, I can walk my feet behind him and look to scoop the near leg. All right, and I want to get it almost by the knee. I like the thigh area a little bit more. And your job at this point then would be to lock around the body, keeping this tight to you, and you're going to pull and roll everything to you to get your re-roll. This is a matter of creating space so you can bring your hips in, locking the body, hooking the leg, and then just turning the person over you. So you're going to have to do this explosively so you don't get caught to your back. And when you hook that leg, you want to make sure that you flare your knee out so that, here, we'll do it on the set again. You flare your knee out so that you can get the leg movement that you want. So you're in a bad position, you're on your back, your hands, we have to use these. Cool? So my one hand that's behind coach, I'm going to push this hand across his back to try to get him a little top heavy, walking my feet to his back so we can go like kind of hip to hip position. I'm gonna scoop the leg and I'm just gonna open up my knee as I look to roll coach over my body. And now I should have top position at that point. Cool? So this is a great way of using a re-roll. All right. Another thing we can do from this headlock position, I can look to bring my hand in underneath, but first again, feet to the mat, pressuring on coach, and now I'm going to look to bring my hand in so I can start turning my body. So with my hand in to the mat, I can start pushing out his hips, start attacking the hips, maybe building my way back into them. Cool. You're gonna have to play around with these a little bit. Of course, as you're stronger, if you're stronger, you're gonna be able to do this a little bit better. As long as you're driving your feet into the mat and creating space, you're gonna have way better of a chance at getting off your back. Cool? So if you can, at all times, learn to put your feet to the mat. Pressure back into this person. A lot of everything in wrestling is tremendous amounts of pressure. All right, and it's gonna be, you know, you wanna be immovable, you wanna be flexible, and you wanna be unstoppable. So you have to be able to master these three things. All right, so there's another position as well when you're on your back. Maybe it wasn't a headlock this time, it's gonna be just an over-under position. Cool? These positions can get tough. This is a strong, tough position. All right, we can still do the same thing though, right? Feet to the mat, pressuring into this person. Notice how I'm looking to move coach's head out of the way. All right, so he's not pressuring me forward so that all this pressure is on my chest. I want this off of my chest, I want it away somewhere else to here. Cool? Now you can start bringing your hands in. You can start looking to separate your hips, especially with this over-under, creating a frame, bringing your arm in, bringing your underhook in, looking to get underhook control, inside control, look to start spinning your hips. The idea is get that pressure off of you by pressuring into them, bridging, throwing that arm across to kind of break their posture so that you can then start taking the back. Cool? So one more time with that. If I'm in this position, coach has me in a really tough position here. All right, I can't really do much here. He's got a good pressure, good pinch on my upper body. I need to use my legs. Feet to the mat, pressuring into him, and I'm pushing away with this hand. I can windshield wipe in to frame on the face, and my job now is to create as much space as possible. So last time we brought our hips in, this time I want to bring my hips away. And now I can bring my elbow in for my underhook, and I can look to take the back from this position. Cool? And just look to either reach for a near leg or the hip or whatever in that situation. But as long as we get off our backs, you can lift the fight another day. Cool? So let's rep those out. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass. And for this segment, we are looking at hand fighting and keeping the inside ties. Cool, so we're gonna place emphasis on the collar tie and how we can maintain a good inside hand fight. We're gonna put everything together now. We've got our stance, we're gonna have our shuffling, we have our collar tie, which is one of our grips. We are going to be using pressure, so it's gonna be snaps, it's gonna be pushes, it's gonna be movement, and the idea is, how can I maintain a good, strong position using my hand fight to then open up the next things for myself and or tire out and fatigue my opponent. Cool? So Coach Amendola is going to help me out with this one. When you're with your partner or whenever you're at practice, this is what it should look like when you're hand fighting. All right, forehead to forehead, we have to get used to this. This is something that's just, if you're not used to close contact, you will get to that. You will eventually get used to it, okay? And it should be forehead to forehead at all times. If you get ear to ear, it's easy for them to trap you. I was a very strong guy growing up where I would just hold people there if I didn't want them to do anything. Don't be caught in that situation. Learn how to create the space. Cool? So for this, I'm gonna start in our stances, and when we look to start hand fighting, someone's gonna initiate. Doesn't matter who it is, but every time something happens, you should be constantly looking to get your hand fight going, creating tremendous amounts of pressure on this person to tire them out. I want all this weight, wherever my hands are, I want all of that to create tremendous amounts of pressure so they start feeling it in their neck, in their lower back, in their legs, and eventually they're gonna fatigue. Cool? So let's say I go in for a collar tie, coach goes to get in his collar tie, we both have a collar tie, 50-50. I wanna get my inside control to this inside collar tie, maybe coach wants to get his inside control, but I'm gonna block it off. I'm gonna use my collar tie like a frame, and what I'm gonna do is when I feel that this person wants this inside control, which I have inside control right now, I don't wanna let go of this, I don't wanna give this up, I am going to pressure my elbow to their chest and keep this tight. This will allow me to maintain the collar tie, and now from this, I'm able to pull and push better and still maintain this inside control. Cool? So as we're in here, we're fighting, coach keeps trying to go inside. As long as I got my collar tie, I can still move them. Collar tie. And I like to place emphasis on my collar tie always having a tremendous snap. All right? Constantly keeping this forehead to forehead position, but constantly using this. All right? And not letting them take this away. So when they try to hand fight in, one more time, I will block it off. So coach tries to get a collar tie in on my collar tie or hand inside, I can block it off. Cool? And if I feel like it's starting to come in, I can take out my collar tie, snap the hand, and go right back to my collar tie. And I'm circling, and I'm snapping, and I'm pushing, and I'm moving, and I'm keeping constant pressure on my partner so that eventually they don't keep their sights on me. Because remember, where should our vision be? Center line, through the spine. No matter where I am, I should be looking for where his spine would be with my forehead leading. And I should know that here, wherever I may be, these are good positions. All right, so using our hand fight, you can block them off, but always maintain that inside control. So we're gonna shuffle, we're gonna fight for the collar tie, we're gonna maintain the inside control, we're gonna push, we're gonna pull, we're gonna circle away from the lead leg, and this is a proper hand fight. At that point, eventually, you'll be able to go for 2-on-1s, you can do wrist turnouts, pop, chop, whatever it is to get into those leg attacks. But for now, understanding that this is one of the most important things that you'll ever have in wrestling that you need to master. This is something you gotta put reps in. Your eyes cannot look at the mat constantly at your opponent. Staying in a good, proper stance where you would be pressuring the ball that you're making in your fist. And just being able to maintain that position. This will take time. But with reps, you'll be able to be very strong and always be in a great position. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass. My name is Brandon Escobar, and this segment is pummeling. So Coach Amendola is going to help me out in here. In wrestling, you're going to get into close quarters, you're going to get into close contact where you're going to have to understand every position. This position just happens to be the closest position where you're in a chest-to-chest position. You got an underhook on one side, overhook on the far side, and it looks a little something like this. And the idea of this position is basically, I want to make sure that I control this at all times. All right. A great way to start is understanding that this underhook hand has to be deep within the arm, almost like you're reaching for their spine in the back and elevating the arm. So if you notice on this right side, I'm starting to lift Coach Amendola's arm up. All right. So if he's doing that on the other side, perfect. He's doing a great job. I don't like this. I don't want this. So when this starts to happen to you, you need to be able to bring this arm back down. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to use our hand and then our whole body pressure. So my hand's going to point down and I'm going to look to bring my body over that side. Cool? This is going to help me to pressure down this elbow. And we're going to manipulate the joint of the arm in this side. Cool? So as I bring this elbow down, I am going to bring my hand in. I can pull my elbow in, and I'm going to make a V with my hand, and I'm going to put it right in the crease of the elbow. Cool? So the idea is keeping this pressured so that he can't lift it back up and put me into this bad position. Cool? I'm going to bring this hand back in. If you want to, you can bring it to the inside of the thigh, then pull the hand back in, and then keeping it right here. I want it tight and glued in. I want to control this. And on the other side, I'm trying to lift this as high as I can so that I can either run him over legs, pull him and move him around, whatever the case may be. I did do an instructional for this on dynamic striking. So if you guys want to get more in depth and detailed with this, you can absolutely look to purchase the over-under series, the 50-50 over-under series that I did, and you'll get more in depth with this. But for now, we're just going to teach you how to pummel. But understanding the overhook, underhook position, what you're going to do is you always, for the most part right now, we're always going to look for underhooks. Cool? So I already have one far side underhook. I want to keep that, so I'm going to keep it close to me, keep it tight, keep it where he won't separate. He's doing a great job on this side as well. My job is now, how can I bring this hand in to be another underhook? So that eventually we can either lock our hands with an S-lock, a gable, or a butterfly. Cool? And it's going to look a little something like this. I'm dropping that arm in. I'm readjusting my grip. And now my hand is going to go to my chest. Palm to my chest, and then it's going to sneak into the armpit. High up in that armpit, I want to be able to throw my hand up high so eventually I can get my lock high up on his body. Cool? I don't want my lock low where he could just headlock me or push away my hips, just like that. You want to make it so that they have to fight and they have to get a good position. Cool? So after I pressure it in, I'm looking to bring my hand in, and I'm bringing it in. And as I do that, coach is doing the same thing on the other side. So as I go, boom, now notice the same position, just on the other side. If you do this correctly, you have pummeled. Cool? So the same thing. Now we're gaining position here, pinching in the elbow. I want to get my other side underhook in. I'm bringing my hand to my chest, going into the armpit, switching head position, and we're circling. Good. And we're moving, we're moving. We go to pummel again, bringing the hand in, switching our head position. Awesome. We can move this person around. I like my lead foot to be my underhook foot. That's just preference. Up to you guys, whatever you want to do. I just set up a lot of my moves from this position. And then when we go to pummel again, same thing, hand to the chest, into the armpit. Boom. And then we're just moving this person around and going and pummeling again. Good. And if you notice, every time we pummel, there's a constant pressure that we're both agreeing to do. All right? And we're forcing our hand back into position. We're forcing ourselves into this position where we're controlling where the body's going. Cool? And all that's going to happen eventually is one of us is going to tire out. And then if you can get double unders, we can find ourselves in positions like throw bys, dropping, changing your level to the legs, and or attacking the upper body. Cool? So that's the beauty of an over-under position, because from here, you can still attack the legs, you can attack the body, look to take the back, you can be in these positions and look to start attacking the head for your front headlocks, so on and so forth. The over-under position is a position that's very important to have a understanding of, so that you just don't try to shy away from it, because that's normally when you're going to be in trouble. The moment your hips go back, you're probably going to get launched. Someone who knows what they're doing also knows when the other person doesn't know what they're doing. So be someone who knows what they're doing, understands this position, and learn your pummels. Learn this over-under position. So again, you can, I'm sure, find tons of videos on YouTube or anywhere else, or you can look at my instructional on dynamic striking, the 50-50 over-under series, and learn some things that will help you from this position. Cool? Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass, and this is the no arm shot. So this is a little game and a drill that I like to do in order to work on posture as I'm taking the shot. Cool? So what we want to do is place our hands behind our back, behind our hips, and our goal is to be able to take our drop step in this position. All right, so if I'm in that stance where I'm creating that pressure again, where like I'm pressuring in on that ball, my job should be to maintain position with my hands behind my back, shuffling, moving, taking my drop step. And now the goal is I want to be able to make sure that I maintain a perfect posture, perfect stance all the way through to my shot. All right, so what does that mean? Keeping my back arched. If I want to lower my level, I will just drop my butt even more, creating more pressure into the ball, into the hip. And then I will look to take my drop step and go. Cool? Your goal should be, when you attempt a drop step, when you attempt to shoot on your opponent, you don't want to just get there. You want to be able to push this person back. You want to be a force. You want to be punching past them. So you're going to use your body to strike them. It's going to be a body blow, and your chest has to hit the thighs. You want your chest to be glued to the thighs as much as possible. Cool? If you can do that with no hands, by the time you get your arms back and when you're in a match, you're gonna be able to maintain the legs there. Cool? So this is why I like to do this without hands first. So your job should be at first when you're starting up, understanding this with your hands behind your back and taking drop step with one side, maybe the other side, maybe you do it a few times and you're moving around in this position, keeping your head up, level changing, always looking, imagining there's an opponent here and I'm looking through them to their spine, to the center line. Cool? So as I take my shot, I go and I'm keeping my head position. Now when I have a partner, so Coach Amendola is gonna help me out with this one. I'm gonna look to perform this move. I'm gonna look to take a few shots and my goal is how can I get to his hips? How can I bring my chest to the thighs with power and as best as I possibly can so that I can drive him to his heels or have to make him react to a really strong forward motion that if he doesn't react to properly, I get my takedown. So it's gonna look a little something like this where I have my hands behind my back, coach is in front of me, and I am just going to level change, heel, toe, knee, duck under, and look to push coach and make sure that he takes a few steps. That way I know that I did a good job. If I can get him flying through the air, 3 feet in the air, and he ends up somewhere over there, that means I'm very strong. All right, so that should be more or less what you're looking to do. So now this is a great time to start incorporating our penetration step. Now at this point, we want to make sure that we can close up the gap as much as possible. All right, so if you're taking a shot and you're way far out here and you take a drop step and you can still kind of reach the thighs, but there's a space, you're too far. You wanna make sure that when you take this drop step, your knee is either gonna end up between his feet or behind his feet. All right, you're trying to run this person over, you're trying to go through them. All right, so we tend to want to exaggerate in wrestling because what happens in a live match is what we think is 100% turns out to be 80, 85% average. Higher level guys, 90, 95, and so on and so forth. So if you're beginning, what you think is 100 might be 65, 70. You got to get those numbers up. All right. So one of the ways of doing this is to be able to close up the gap as much as possible. So I'm going to take a deep penetration step, which just means I am going to extend my lead leg forward enough so that I can go heel, toe, knee to bring my chest to coach's thighs, coach's legs, and then be able to push him off with that. Cool. If I have the power to push coach out of the way with my shot, I easily have the power to just drive, to lift, to do anything. All right. But the most important thing right now is to build this power. Cool. So we'll be in this position. Coach is in the same position. And my job again, I'm going to go heel, toe, knee. And if you notice, I'm not just dropping down on my foot underneath. This time I'm going to take a step forward. Doesn't have to be anything too crazy. Make sure you have good balance. Heel, toe, knee. And notice when I drop my knee, my toe is almost already lined up with him. So when I drop my knee, it's almost behind him. So as I come up, I have full control of his legs now. If I had arms, I'm grabbing. But for this drill, we're just moving them. We're just getting him out of the way. We're just driving across. We're driving back, getting him on his heels, making it so that we create an explosive forward motion and getting him reacting. All right. Once you have this down, when you start to use your arms, you're going to have so much more of an advantage because you're already going to move into that position. Cool. So rep this out as much as possible. Get to those positions where you're circling, you're moving, you're finding the pressure. You're going in and you're driving this person. Going in and you're driving and you're understanding what it feels like to drive with your head, with your shoulders, with your hips, with your legs. And then eventually, when you have your hands, you're going to have a way bigger advantage. Cool? Let's rep those out. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass. My name is Brandon Escobar, and this is building up the single leg exercise. All right, I have Coach Jackie Gold and Coach Justin Amendola with me here to help out for this drill. So we're going to start with a single leg, and our partner is going to look to get a sprawl position going, and we're going to teach you how to build back up the single leg from the worst case scenario, a sprawled out position. Cool. So Coach Amendola is going to take a shot on Coach Gold. Awesome. And if you notice, when he takes a shot, Coach is doing a great job of pressuring in on the hips. So Coach Amendola here now is a little bit sprawled out. If you guys could turn a little bit this way so that they can see real quick. This would be worst case scenario. After we've taken a shot, notice Coach is now, he doesn't have that back posture strong. He doesn't have his head up. He is now sprawled out. We need to get back to that position. We need to bring our chest back to the thigh. We need to keep that forward drive. We got to be able to now pressure back into whatever it is that is pressuring against us. So attack what's attacking you, right? So in this situation, what Coach wants to do is he has the lock around the hands. He's got his gable lock around the thigh. And what he wants to do is start driving from his feet, driving into that leg as he's pulling that leg in and trying to bring his head up. He's going to then look to step up with the outside leg to help him knee slide that leg in to get back into a proper single leg position where he's in chest to thigh with a good arch in his back. So let's see what that looks like real quick. Coach is going to start pulling that leg to him, driving forward. Excellent. Knee slides in, bringing that leg out so he can continue to knee slide. And then Coach Jackie is just going to sprawl again, looking to bring him back down, and Coach gets right back into the same position, and he's going to look to do the same exact thing. Pull that leg in, pressure, good pressure, stepping up. Awesome. Good. So one of the key details for this is I like to make sure that when I'm underneath and I'm in the sprawl position, to use that outside step to pressure back into this person. Cool? So when you're in that bad position, looking to build up, this outside step should help you to pressure back into this person. You have to give them a counter force because you know that their hips are trying to keep you into the mat. So you want to pressure that back into them so that you can build back up to that position. And that outside step, I feel like is a good way to kind of maintain and keep that position so then you can knee slide your way in. If you can knee slide right off the bat, that'd be awesome as well. But the whole point is just pulling that leg in. Whatever you can possibly do to get that leg in. So one more time, let's do this high crotch shot. Cool. Coach gets sprawled out on. Again, keeping our elbows in. We never want to have our elbows out. Keeping our elbows in. He's going to pull that leg to him. He's going to look to start building up. Looking to step up and then knee slide underneath. Yeah, and then posturing till he gets to this position. That's awesome. Now from here, he's got a good strong arch in his back. He's got his chest forward. He's pulling that leg to him. At that point, he can switch off to a double. He can cut the angle, look to lift with a single leg. There's a lot of things that we can do from there. The most important thing from this position is understanding that even though you failed at this shot attempt, or maybe you were in a good shot attempt, it just happened to, slip away from you because this person happened to sprawl on you, you can always build back up to this position. All right. Worst case scenario, let's say we get head inside single. So with the head inside single, the partner can do the same thing. Looking to push the head down, sprawl out. Coach can do the same exact thing. Posting with this foot, he can start to pressure back into this person. He can look to pull the leg into him, good, and then he's stepping up with his foot, driving his head through the body so that he can start building himself back up to this position. All right, a lot of this is going to be how can I keep pressure on this person, building up back into this position. Cool. From there, you'll know what to do as far as either bundling the legs, driving this person, taking their legs away from under them. But our job should be at the very least to go from a very unfavorable position back to something that we can actually work with. Cool. So worst case scenario in this situation, you can even hit a sweep single, you can run around the leg, but for the sake of understanding how to maintain this position, this is something you guys should also be attempting to try to build up and understand so that you understand where your head pressure should be, right? With the head inside single, you're driving your head into that person's belly. You're looking to try to topple over the structure, topple them over as you're keeping tight the thigh to your chest and you're keeping a good knee to the mat, good stance, good drive, good push, toppling them over. All right, so when you get sprawled out, pulling that leg to you, driving in with that, and then we can either come up with the leg or hold the position. Cool, so back into worst case scenario, building back up to good position. best case scenario. Worst case to best case. So let's do that one more time with the head inside. You're gonna take like a sweep single shot head inside. Good, coach is gonna sprawl. And now our build up is, we're gonna pull that leg to us, drive with our head, keep driving into that body, pushing up, and knee sliding. And notice how coach even blocked behind the knee, or behind the foot. Awesome. It's a great position to be in, guys. This right here, just to understand what positions we require in order to be able to maintain a good, strong foundation. Cool? Awesome. Let's get reps on those. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass. This is building the double leg exercise. And Coach Jackie and Coach Amendola are gonna help me out with this real quick. Our job is to get into a double leg, maintain it, and then if worst case scenario, we build back to it. You have to understand that even if you are in a failed attempt, you can always build back up. In wrestling, there's always opportunities to be able to turn an unfavorable position into a favorable position where you should always be scoring. You have to just know that there are things there. Cool? So with this little drill, you will be more familiar with understanding what you should be doing in order to build back up into a position, right? So let's look at our double leg real quick. As Coach Jackie gets into this double, he has a great position, all right? He has good strong back, chest to thigh. He's got the legs locked up. This is awesome. All right, this is where we want to be. This is the position that we want. But what happens if, by some chance, our opponent happens to sprawl, happens to move our head out of the way? We're going to go into a worst case scenario so we can see how we build back into that. So Coach Amendola is going to push the head to the inside, look to get a nice sprawl going, and he's going to make Coach Jackie extended and flat to the mat. This is probably one of the worst case scenarios, and he's keeping his head underneath the body. The thing that Coach Jackie wants to do at this point is not let go of the legs just yet. He wants to keep what he has, but he has to regain a better position. He has to go back to that good position. So he's gonna find one outlet, one side to pop his head out of. Cool? And whatever he chooses, he starts to build up with his legs. He starts to come up, knee slide in, posture back up, and notice he brings his chest to the thighs. Cool? And now as we build back up, Coach Amendola is going to push the head back into the other side, get a sprawl in. Coach Jackie's back into the worst case scenario, building back up using a knee slide. That was awesome, pushing the head back in, looking to sprawl. He's going to find his outlet. He's going to look to push, drive, and then right back to it. This is perfect. This is beautiful. Thank you, guys. The goal in here, guys, is we have to be in a position where we can maintain and hold that double leg. We're strong enough where we can pull those in, lock our hands, and make it difficult for them. All right? Make it difficult for them to be able to sprawl and create space. But when we get to these positions where we're sprawled out, one of the things that you're going to want to do is be able to regain that position, and you still can. All right, so understanding that when you're on bottom and you're extended, sometimes there will be that pressure on the back of your head. You have to find your way out. All right, your redirection has to be away from the mat towards this person and around, or at least to create some space and separate. All right, but in this double leg position, you can regain position by being able to pull those legs to you, popping your head outside, and getting your legs under you, whether it be with a knee slide or a step up, stepping outside with your leg, and then knee sliding your way in to get a good posture with your knee to the mat, chest to the thighs, and being able to hold that position. So in this drill, your job should be how many of these can you rep out. A lot of these next drills are going to be, you doing these at least 100 reps a day till you get to the point where you've mastered it. All right, your job should be, this has to be second nature. All right, you can transition to other moves and other positions, but the goal is to be able to understand the strength in these moves. So if you want to understand how to be able to be strong in these positions, you're just going to have to get into them. Put yourself into a position where it's worst case scenario, and then put yourself into the best case scenario position and learn that in-between area. Cool? That way you can differentiate and understand where you should be, what you should be doing. And if you're constantly on the offense and you're never in a defensive position, you're just going to be moving from move to move to move, staying offensive. Cool? So with this, I would just say again, develop your body, develop yourself to be able to withstand and take these little drills and make them strong, make them yours. These are going to end up being your moves eventually. This is going to be something that you're going to have to learn in order to move like a wrestler, right? You want to be successful, you want to be a great wrestler, you have to be able to understand these positions, hold these positions, and learn little angles and breakages of them, all right? Could we see that one more time, guys? That was honestly really cool. So again, coach shoots in, he's got a double leg, coach redirects his head, gets the sprawl under, and Coach Jackie is just finding a way to get his head out. He's just picking a side, bringing his head out, driving, knee sliding, and building back up. Cool? And notice how he's pulling the legs into him, getting to that position. That's awesome, guys. Thank you. Perfect. That's the drill. If you can make it look like that, you're going to have a huge advantage. Cool? Let's get those reps in. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass, and this is recovering our legs from a seated double leg position. Cool? So this is worst case scenario. We end up on our butts. Our partner takes a shot in and we end up on our butt. How do we recover from this position? All right, so Coach Amendola got a double leg in on Coach Jackie, and the problem is Coach Jackie's legs are in front of him. All right, his feet are in front of him. This is not where we want to be. Ideally, this is a pretty bad position. All right, Coach Amendola has the advantage. So what we have to do is we have to be able to redirect where Coach's drive is going so that we can start to get our legs back. All right, so if we can move his body off of our legs, now we can start to create some space, get an angle break, and start to get our feet behind us. We can then start to move our hips and create the space in order to regain position. So when they got a double leg in, our first thing is we're gonna look for a nice little chest wrap. Cool? And what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna pressure them. So by pulling them into us, we're going to drive all of their pressure over their head. So if the head's to the right side, we're driving it over to the right side. And my goal now is to be able to extend their body and take it off of the legs. So Coach Jackie's now going to look to bring the body over to the legs. If you notice now, his legs are free, but he still has to get his legs back. So he may start to walk backwards a little bit, look to get his hips away and get to a position like this. Cool? This would be ideally the best case scenario where he throws the body off of our legs, and then he's going to look to square up his hips to get his legs back. So now, what happens if Coach Amendola decides to keep the legs even after he's gotten thrown off the legs? Cool. So Coach Jackie's going to look to throw him to the side, and he's going to look to backpedal, get his feet behind him, and he's going to post to the mat, keeping this tight waist whizzer. With this, he's going to maintain pressure onto Coach Amendola so that at this point now he can look to get his hips square. This would be perfect. Now, after we post it to the mat, you can post to the head and you can start sinking your hips a little bit more to try to face your partner. This is ideally where you want to be because now he can just spin to the back. He can start his offense and get his points. Cool? So ideally with this situation is we're in a really bad situation. There's no space. We got to create some sort of space because our legs being in front of us is not going to help us when we're on our butts. All right, that's worst case scenario. We need to be able to regain having our legs behind us so we can use it as a driving force. All right, and the best way is, well, when they're already in and their head's to one side, bring that body over to that side because initially what they're going to want to do is if your head's to the left side, you're going to want to crowd and cover the hips with the right side, right? So you're going to want a seatbelt again. Can you show us what that looks like real quick if you're in on that double? So Coach Amendola's head's to the right side or his left side. And if you notice now, his driving force is trying to go into the hips to try to keep Coach Jackie on his back, eventually trying to put him to his back. But if Coach Jackie could keep that drive forward and redirect it over to his head, he can then move Coach Amendola's lower body off to the side. So the side that the head is on is where we're going to throw the body. So he's going to chest lock, pull it to him a little bit, throw it off to the side. Awesome. And now he can break that lock, keep that tight waist, post on the hand, look to keep his hips out, turning the hips in. He wants to make sure that he keeps the head isolated underneath him. And then from here, you can start getting to work. All right? You can either spin, look to take the back, and so on and so forth. Cool? So just keep in mind that in every situation, you can always build up and turn an unfavorable situation into something that can work out for you. but at the very least, we're not giving up in here. Cool? Worst case scenario, if you feel like you can't do this, just turn. All right? Give up the points, build yourself back up, get yourself into a better position. Because sometimes this move could end up being a little dangerous if they start going around your hips, if they start working up to your lower body. This is something you want to do if they're just wrapped around your legs and you happen to capture around the body. Cool? And then eventually you can start learning other things. Maybe you look up some other instructionals and tutorials of how to break angles and apply moves to be able to turn this person to their back or gain an advantage and an advantageous position. But for now, the most important thing is recover your legs from under you. Get their weight off of your legs. All right? Be able to redirect where their drive is going. Remember, where the head goes, the body follows. So if the head is already off to the side, you know, one of the situations that you may even use here, let's say coach is in on a double and his head is up. If I feel like his head is up and this is not ideally the position I want to be in, I'll push his head down to the mat, cover the body, look to chest lock, and then I'm looking to get him off to the side. Cool? That way I can look to get a tight waist, post, and then continue to do my move. Cool? So awesome job, you guys. Thank you. That's ideally what you'll want to do. Pressure, driving into the head, wherever the head goes, the body follows, redirect their body so you can then look to backstep, get your heels behind you, get your legs behind you so that you can square up your hips and pressure this person down. Cool? Awesome. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass, and this is building up from a bottom position. So now we're going to start from worst case scenario. When you are flat, what you should be doing in order to start building back up. Now, you have to keep in mind that when you're on bottom, the person on top is always going to keep pressure on you. It's going to be a, constant barrage of moves, attacks, hand fighting, whatever it could be. They can start taking away the hands, looking to take away the legs of the table, and looking to break you down. So your job has to be to create a structure that's going to be able to withstand this. Got to be strong enough to be able to build up from worst case scenario. So on bottom, worst case scenario is going to be flat. Arms out, legs out. So I'm going to show you how I learned how to build up and then build back down. Cool? Because when you get to a referee's position, you're at least at a 50-50 place where now you can start standing up. Now you can have the posture of your arms and you have your legs under you and you can start looking to really make some movements and efforts to be able to escape from a bottom position. So the way I learned it was, we're going to start like a starfish, all right? I'm going to have my hands out, and my first move is I got to protect my face, all right? So just like our 3 lines of contact in wrestling, our hands, our head, our hips, we're going to go with our hands to our head, all right? That way we're not getting cross-faced. That way they're not turning our head. They're not doing anything to redirect where our drive is going. Cool? This is how we protect ourselves, and this is how we can maintain a good structure. So hands to the head, and then we're going to look to build up our legs underneath us. All right? When you're on bottom, you should never be flat. You have to get to a point where your knees and your feet are underneath you, so now you can start to walk and start to look to create a motion to go forward. Right? And then we will build up into a referee's position, which will eventually build into a stand-up, and then we'll bring it back down. So it looks like so. Starfish position, arms out, flat like I'm doing Greco-Roman or freestyle defense. And what I'm looking to do first is bring in my hands. I'm going to cover my face, and I'm going to keep my elbows tight. I never want my partner to be able to get their hands inside my armpit. So I'll bring my hands in, and now I want to build up my knees from underneath me. So if you can't just pull both knees up, what you're going to want to do is bring one knee in first, and then you bring in the other. All right? And whether you are active toes or laces to the mat, doesn't really matter at that point. It's just a matter of, can you get your knees under you so that now you can start putting all that weight back into your legs, back onto your hips, into your seated position, so that now you have more control of being able to stand up. Cool? So, hands in, one knee. If you notice, my knee, as it comes in, I like to keep my elbow in tight and kind of try to block off anything coming in from the inside. So covering, my elbows are inside. Cool. From here, I can push into my hands, and now I'm at a referee's position. All right. This is bottom position in a referee's position where it's normally like a 50-50 position, right? Other person's on top, I'm on bottom. No one has much of an advantage. You can still do things. So from here, I like active toes. I'm looking for my stand-up, being able to stand up to my feet, and understanding that eventually I'm going to have to attack the hands. I want to now work backwards. You have to understand the build-up and then the breakdown. So then you go backwards to this position, back to referees, coming down with our elbows in, you know, bringing one leg down, bring the other leg down, hands out, and we'll start all over again. Hands in, elbows in. One knee in, other knee in, up to referee's position, stepping up, standing up, and then back down to a position where we're going to do our breakdown, our build up. And this should be something that you have to get used to. This has to be something that you practice to the point where you don't have to think about it anymore. So the goal of this, silly as that may seem, it's honestly one of the most important things that you can probably get down in your arsenal, so that when you are in a situation where you're flattened out, at least you have a guide. At least now you have a blueprint, you have a map of what your next move should be. You know, protecting your face, bring your hands in, covering yourself, and then building your legs up underneath you. Because you'll hear it a lot in matches. They'll say, get your legs under you, bring your knees in, especially if you've gotten flat. Especially if the person on top does a good job of breaking you down and getting you flat, you're gonna wanna build up to this position. Cool? So please do rep this as much as possible and make sure that this is second nature. You understand the build-up and the breakdown of it. Cool. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass, and this is mat returns. So this mat return drill is something that we're gonna go over in order to bring our partner and our opponent back to the mat. Now, the goal will always be to get them flat to the mat, keeping pressure on them, making it difficult for them to build up, and making it so that they always have some sort of obstacle. They have a lot of work to do, all right? As the person who's looking to mat return this person, I need to be physically strong, I need to be flexible, and I need to be able to control my partner when I do this. So it's very important that you work on your strength, you work on whether it be squats, your grips, everything. All these things, no matter how good and skilled you are, you can always be stronger. You can always work on something to be able to grow in all these fields. So when you go to do this mat return, you may feel like it's a move that can tire you out, but the risk to reward is huge, because when you get the mat return, you're going to apply a lot of pressure onto this person, and done correctly, they're gonna go right into a flat position where now they have to build right back up, and they're having to carry your weight, getting to a good position. It's just a lot of work. So to simplify this move real quick, Coach Amendola is gonna help me. We're gonna start from the standing position, and I am going to start behind him with a lock. Cool? I can start with an S-lock. S-lock is good enough to just be able to control which way I can switch my lock. I can look to pinch in my elbows. The way I like to do it is, if I'm going to the left side, my left elbow is gonna pinch in. If I'm going to the right side, I like my right elbow to pinch in. I like to be able to cinch my lock and pinch my elbows and pull this person to me. My job should be to be able to make Coach more or less get tabletop. All right, you guys remember the game back in the day from tabletops, where your friend might be talking to another person, your other buddy goes behind and they act like a table, and then your buddy pushes them and they go backwards. That's a tabletop. We're kind of doing that to this person, all right? And I'm gonna do it off of teeing off, and then I'm gonna use my hips instead of my back as a table. My hips are gonna be a table. I'm gonna pull Coach to me, and I'm gonna use my hips to then take his legs away when I look to do my mat return. All right, so it's gonna look a little something like this. So I start from behind him, And now I'm gonna shuffle my feet. And when I go to tee off, what I need to do is I gotta make sure that both of my feet are going to encase his foot between us, right? So it's almost like I'm making a box with my feet, and his foot should be in the middle, in that box. Cool? So one leg at his toe, 1 foot blocking off his toe, 1 foot blocking off his ankle. This would be a good place. Cool? So we got to get to that position when we shuffle our feet. So I got my lock, I shuffle my feet, I get into the position. Now I am going to cinch my lock, which means I'm going to pull it close to me, tightening elbows, and my job from this position is to start pulling this person towards me so that when I go to drive my hips into his thigh, I can create the angle breakage that I need in order to get his legs out from under him. Cool? So as I go to pressure and as I go to lift, this is what should happen. I'm pulling in the legs after I've shuffled and teed off my feet. And now if you notice, my hips are at the thigh, like in the pocket type area. I don't want to be too high. I want to make sure that when I tee off, I get into this squatting position, more or less. Not too low, not too high, right in the middle, where my hips will line up with like his pocket. Yeah, like honestly, like his pocket with my like the line of my shorts or my sweatpants. Cool? So S-lock, shuffling my feet, teeing off, cinching my lock, pulling them into me, hipping, and then I'm looking to return this person to the mat. Now, one of the ways that I like to be able to direct their body is I like to think that I'm holding a giant clay pot, an urn, a water jug, something very big and heavy between my arms, and I'm just going to pour it out, all right? Because what I want to do is I want to get this person from standing to a lateral position, all right? And that's going to be done with the idea and the mindset of pouring out that water, all right? So when you're mat returning this person, if you can end up with a situation where they're going to their hands first, you're honestly in a better position, because now all that weight's going to go to their hands. They're not going to be as strong with their hands as they would be with their feet. So this is the goal. Don't bring them back to their feet, bring them to their hands, right? So one more time, start behind, shuffling my feet. My ear is behind his shoulder. I'm kind of like listening to him. I'm cinching my lock. I'm pulling him to me as I look to hip in. Now I'm looking to just pour the water out, and what you can do too is clear the leg in front of you. This is another thing that works great, especially on taller guys, is whatever leg is in front, you're gonna use this and bring it across the legs. Because some people have really good balance and they can keep their legs in front of them. After you lift, if you can clear the leg as you're pouring out the water, it'll help out tremendously. Cool? So, and that's the goal. Once we get to this position, pressure forward, hands inside the armpits, and then I get to work. Cool? So for this one, we'll do a few. Coach is going to get mat return, stand back up. I'll hit it on the other side, mat return, stand back up. We'll hit a few of them so you see what they look like. Cool. So if you do this correctly, you can do it without the leg if you pour the water out correctly. But if you need the help, if you feel like you can't do it, drive that knee across, and you should be able to clear the legs, making them go with their hands first to the mat. And with that, once you know that they're going, just keep the pressure on them. Remember, your goal is to get this person flat to the mat and be able to contain them in that position. Welcome back to Art of Wrestling Masterclass, and this is the push-pull game. So I have Coach Jackie and Coach Amendola here are going to help me with this. This is a game designed for everybody. You can be a beginner, you can be a child starting to do this, you can be an adult. And what this will teach you is good balance and pressures. All right, then you start working your grips and you start working your movements. So we're gonna kind of combine everything, but we're gonna do it without moving our feet. So this is a game that we do with stationary feet while we're attempting to win a game. So this is how it goes. We're gonna pick a line. I'm gonna say, let's use the end of this circle right here, where both coaches are gonna step on the line. Between them, I should have about a foot's width apart, and that's a good position. Other than that, what they wanna do is have a good stance, a good base where they're not pushed over easily. Somewhere where they can balance themselves out, where if someone was to push them or pull them, they're not so easily moved. Cool? And now this is the way that we start the game. It's gonna be slap, slap, knuckles, knuckles. Before we start the game, our goal is to move our opponent or our partner off of their stationary feet with just our hand fight, just our pressure, just our push, our pull, and our movement. Cool? So let's see what that looks like real quick with the coaches. So slap, slap, knuckles, knuckles, and then we get to work. Very nice. Very nice. Now you'll be a judge and you can set up the rules. So it can be first one to move out of position. So first one to get their foot off of that stationary spot. Or you could say, all right, even if you move your feet, whoever ends up on top. So in that, it can be, you know, if you pull the person, yeah, maybe they move their foot first, but they landed on top of you, that might be a takedown. So that person will get the point. So it's gonna be on you to make the call, but the goal right now is to make this game, I would say, tough enough to have to be able to keep this perfect structure, this perfect hand fight, this disciplined position, because you're going to learn how to be able to push and pull from this. So let's see coaches again. This time it's going to be first one that moves their foot. All right, but if the person lands on top, that's their point. That's the takedown. All right, let's try it again. Good. So you're still, it's like you're applying your wrestling while you're doing this. Awesome. Coach Jackie was completely able to move Coach Amendola to the side. That was awesome. He'd get the point on that. Very nice. Now, that's level one. Let's go to level two real quick. We're going to do the same thing. Same stance, foot width apart on our feet. But this time, we're going to interlock our fingers. This way, we have no separation. We're constantly in contact. We're going to understand what it feels like when they push, when they pull, and know what it is. Cool? So as we go this time, we can just say go. And now they're trying to move each other from this position. Good. Ah, very nice. Okay. So Coach Jackie was able to push Coach Amendola to him with a nice pull of the hands. You're going to come up with this. At the end of the day, it's going to be your creativity, your imagination, but it's setting little rules and boundaries on a game that's going to help you develop another aspect of how you think and how your brain makes these connections. All right, so as you do something new and something that's difficult, you're going to be making these neurological connections in your brain that are going to allow you to think. So now, this instructional especially, this is something that I want to make sure that you guys get an educational understanding of what you require as a wrestler to be able to be successful, right? You've got your three principles. We've got an immovable, flexible, and unstoppable force. We've got RAM, which is repetition and muscle memory. And then we've got champion, mindset, and lifestyle. Those are the three things that you require to be a great, successful wrestler. We have to encapsulate that. We got to put in the work in that. And these are the little drills that'll get you started for that as well. Cool? So the last one we're going to go to is we're going to now add the leg attacks. So this time in our stance, before we were a foot width apart. This time, let's go a little bit wider so we can give these guys a little bit of help. So now they should be able to block away if anyone does go to attack their legs. They can use their blocks. They have their forehead position. They have their push, their pull. And their job is to maintain this strong position and move their opponent without moving their feet. Let's see what that looks like. Slap, slap, knuckles, knuckles. Awesome. There we go. Ooh, nothing yet. Who's gonna score? Who's gonna score? Nothing yet. Got to move the person without moving your feet. Oh! So we can count that as a takedown or however you want to count it. You can make the rules, but this is just roughly to give you an idea of something that you can do to either help yourself out or help someone else out. Because if you're a wrestler, you can use this. If you're a coach, teach this to your kids. I've used this with young kids, I've used this with adults, and everything in between. And the idea is to get them moving and understanding what they can do with their bodies, how they can move in close quarters and in difficult scenarios, because wrestling eventually becomes you getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. You have to be strong, you gotta be flexible, you gotta become an adept so that eventually you can start recognizing patterns, you can start seeing the synchronicities, you can start understanding rhythms, and then eventually, when you get into situations, after you've done your work and you've repped the moves and you do all the other things that require you that will be required of you to be a champion, when you get into situations, when you get into positions, you're gonna be the faster thinker in those situations. And that's your goal. As a wrestler, you wanna be the guy that in every position, every situation, you're thinking faster than the other guy. That way you're moving faster. You shouldn't get to a position and it be something unrecognizable. It should be something that you already understand. There should be something that you've taken from your training in order to be able to incorporate in everything else. And the more you can understand these moves and the more you rep these out and you make it yours, because no one owns these moves. These will be your moves eventually to master. Everything that you've learned from this instructional, it will be something that it's on you to be able to put into practice. So understand it, put it into practice, apply it, learn, grow, expand. You can go out there and there's tons of instructionals out there. There's tons of YouTube videos. There's tons of great coaches. There's tons of rooms all over where you guys can learn to master these things. And I hope this helps to guide you on your path. And this should be something that, eventually you make your own game out of. Cool? So with that, awesome. Thank you guys. And let's get to repping. And thank you guys for tuning in. I want to give a huge shout out to the Rocky Point Wrestling Academy for allowing me to film this instructional down here where it all began for me. So huge shout out to our Hall of Fame coach, Darren Goldstein, who is the start for all of us actually in wrestling. And I want to give a huge shout out to Coach Nick Atana and the NYAC, Coach Humberto Torres, and the Honduras Olympic Committee, the Honduras Wrestling Federation, and Mike Torriero and Matt Scanga for all instilling this great base and foundational principles for me to be able to take on wrestling and grow and expand and travel and learn, and then be able to bring it back and teach it. So thank you to my media guy, Travis Calderon. Huge shout out. This has been an awesome, awesome experience. And thank you guys as well. Coach Amendola, Coach Jackie Gold, coaches here at Rocky Point. I am super excited and proud to be in this room and to see what these guys are doing. And I look forward to seeing what's to come in the future. So you guys can find me at Escobar the Fighter on Instagram. Feel free to send me a message, ask me any questions. My job and my goal has been to keep expanding my knowledge in wrestling and then sharing that information, because I love this beautiful sport. I want it to continue to grow and I want everyone to do it. I believe that this is something that everyone and anyone can use in their life to build confidence, to build discipline, and to be able to structure their lives and have something that they can be truly proud of. Cool? And I'll leave it to these guys to give their shout outs as well.
Hey guys, Justin Amendola here, born and raised in Rocky Point, New York, Strong Island. I just want to give a shout out to Esco for having me down here. I came up through the program since I was a little kid. That's what got me to where I am now. I coach here at Rocky Point. I went to Nassau Community College and then SUNY Cortland, wrestled there. just forever grateful for this sport. Just want to give a big shout out to my family, friends, all my training partners who have guided me here. And that's it. You find me on Instagram at Justin_Amendola1. Thank you. Jackie?
Jackie Gold here, also born and raised Rocky Point. Huge shout out to Esco, right? Someone I looked up to since I was a little kid. Thank you for having me. Like he said, I coach here, wrestled here. I wrestled at LIU for Coach Joe Patrovich. Then I transferred and finished up at Edinburgh for Coach Matt Hill. And again, now I'm here coaching, doing what I love every single day. I couldn't be more grateful. So you can find me on Instagram at jgold__. Thank you.